Hello, everybody. Welcome to one final Survivor Millennium Park post-season interview retrospective, post-series interview retrospective thing. I am thrilled to be sitting down tonight. If it wasn't for this guy, there would be no season two. There would be no season three. He talked me into it. We saw him on season one of Millennium Park. He is a master manipulator, and I am his greatest victim. He convinced me to organize these games and ruin my life, and I'm so excited to be sitting down with my personal friend and co-producer, Zach. Zach, how are you?
So fantastic, Dylan. Consider this my formal YouTube apology to your wife for all the pain and suffering I've put her through as you have gone through this adventure now three times. Two times too many, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? But very happy to be here.
Well, that does bring me to my first question, which is from my wife, Liz, who wrote in. She actually, not only did she say this to me out loud, she took the time to send it in an Instagram DM. I have a lot of questions. Number one, how dare you? Uh, which it's a fair question. I have, jeopardized myself and my friends to do this game. Uh, Liz, for those who don't know, Liz is my wife, and she is the head of the video crew whenever we do these. She's done it all three seasons when we had a crew of 5 people, and when we had a crew of 20 people. She ran the crew like the Navy. She got a couple shout outs during the interviews from people. Despite she's not a Survivor fan, she doesn't do it for the love of the game. She does it for the love of me. So
Definitely not the love of the game. We can definitely say it is not her passion for Survivor or for LRGs that makes her want to do it. We cannot give the crew enough shout outs. They really are just so fantastic.
Oh yeah, gotta. I'll say it. I love my wife. I'll say that. I'm
Bold
brave enough to
hot
say it.
take.
Hot take. So for the viewers here, Zach and I are sitting down tonight to do a little bit of like a series wrap up. I've very publicly said that this is we're stopping at season three, and then I've just decided to be like a troublemaker and post things like ask us questions about the first three seasons. So in 8 years when we do a season four, you know, we'll deal with that then. Hey,
What was the gap between Survivor Berkshires and the start of Millennium Park? Like when you
Berk,
really got the ball rolling
yeah,
on Millennium Park season one.
Berkshire's 3 ended in 2015 and Millennium Park 1 filmed in 2021. So it was a 6 year gap between end of the first trilogy, start of the second trilogy. So I could do this like Star Wars style and just like come back for new trilogies like at
There
later
we go.
points in my
Yeah.
life. Uh, so Zach, we have some questions from friends of ours. I was gonna say viewers, but it's just friends of ours.
Our
Um,
viewers are our friends. I,
our viewers
I I
are
love all these viewers.
I feel like I'm friends with my viewers, like
Yeah.
shout out Jacob K21 who left the nicest comments all season. Shout out to James from season 3 who used to be an online commentator and now is in my phone contacts. So, you never know.
You
Uh,
never know, Jacob. The next series. It won't
season
be
4
season four. It'll be a whole new thing.
Jacob K21, if you are watching this, we need you on season 4. Season 4 is not happening, but if it does, I need you to apply. Um, so how about this, Zach? I think I'm gonna sort of like sprinkle in some of the fan friend questions. The same way that the fans tribe was not real fans of Millennium Park.
Whatever you want to do, I mean, we're always brief whenever we talk, so I'm sure whatever extra content you got to extend the conversation going, I'm sure will be a good thing.
All right, I'll keep that in mind when I start to talk about my music selection for players' theme songs that I was telling you about before. Um, Zach, let's start with this. You were a player on season one. Like, how did you get involved? Like I don't know. Like, what made you want to say like I want to be on the production side of this? Like, I know we've talked about this, but for the viewers' sake, I guess. What's your story, Zach? What's your deal?
Yeah, yeah. The way I remember it, I certainly don't remember any gaslighting. Maybe I'm a victim of manipulation as well. But Dylan sat me and John Ton down at a restaurant, and we were like, "Oh man, like maybe you'll do a season two." And Dylan was like, "Yeah, I mean, well, if I did, here's the plan I've got for what I'm gonna do
That's right. That's right.
if I did," and then laid out the entire Outcast
Yeah.
battle back twist. And I was right there, wanting to help in any way I can. I think and the genius was in between. this 2 seasons, right? I did the
Yes,
Genius.
the Genius Massachusetts one, which for our viewers who don't know the Zach lore, the Genius Massachusetts is Zach's game. We filmed
Mhm,
season one of that was in between Millennium Park 1 and 2 because
mhm.
that's how Eric and Karina became rivals, and then they played Millennium
Yeah.
Park 2. That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
so I had done my season, so I was definitely there to help in any way I could, and was just, very eager to be a part of the process. We had talked a bunch when I wanted to do, like, between the premiering of season one to when I wanted to do my own game, just about LRGs and stuff. So it was pretty easy for me to get involved, and then, somewhere along the line, there was a fateful call we had sometime that was sure that was supposed to be 30 minutes and definitely was not. And then just from there, I think the production chemistry has been there ever since.
Well, let me ask you this. I have a question from Lizzie,
Oh my
winner of
gosh.
season
I'm
3 of
so
Millennium Park.
excited. That's actually so exciting, genuinely.
They asked us, having both been on the player and production side, which do you like more?
So they're very different, and the way I always describe it is, the games seem very stressful, right? But what I always tell people is like, if things go wrong and you're a player, you lose and then it's done. And then you don't have any more stress, you just have regrets. If things go wrong and you're on production, like you got to keep going. Like you're there until the end. So it's definitely a much more stressful side of things. The upside being you are there until the end no matter what. Like so you get to be involved in the entire process. You get to be involved beforehand in helping to shape the season. I think there is like a lot of creative fulfillment in coming up with ideas for challenges or twists or just the format of the overall season and then seeing it play out and seeing it go well.
Mhm.
So I really like playing LRGs. I've been in like I think three Survivor games now. Um and it's great if someone happens to be listening to this and hasn't played an LRG. I don't know who's listening to this that isn't on the cast or like besides Tony's parents.
Daltrey's
Go ahead and
friends.
apply to an LRG. Tony's friends, everyone. But apply to an LRG. It's a really great experience. But I think I do like being on the production side more, and I really love being like a co-producer for Millennium Park specifically because I think we do have that great chemistry
Yeah.
for when it comes to working it. You're really great as a leader for these things, and I feel really well suited in like the supporting role of helping you through this.
I know, I'm so with you. I mean, this is just going to be an interview about how great we are. No, I think you are so good at like hearing out ideas, bringing ideas to the table. It's like you're such a steady presence in these things, like in the pre-production and during the actual event, and wildly supportive afterwards. Like I hate talking about this to be honest with you. Like I hate talking about this Survivor thing that I've run for 12 years. Like when people are like, "Oh, like did you know Dylan does this thing?" I'm like, "Don't say." I'm trying to make a good impression on this person I'm meeting for the first time. I have people, 'cause I have this on I have on my LinkedIn that I host these. Because at one point I was like, oh, maybe I'll pursue freelance video editing, and I should have like a
Mm.
thing that I've done on there. Um, and now like I do HR, so I have people like in job interviews be like, uh, Dylan, like I saw that you do the Survivor thing, and I like turn beet red. I'm like, oh no, my secret. You don't even work here yet. My secret is out.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I'm the same way when my parents try to bring it up to family members. I'm like, God, no, please no. Like, this is not. Just tell them about theater. Like, that's enough. That's
exactly, which
fine. Tell them I'm in a play. Don't. If people perceive me, if Tony's friends love to do a bit, shout out Tony's friends. Where one time they came up and pretended they didn't know me, and they were like Zach from Millennium Park, and I was like, and now they do it every time. And
oh my
I
God,
only tend to see them when I'm drunk at a watch party,
of
so it
course.
always gets me.
It always, I
Uh, yeah.
no, no, I'm with you. There is something about it that feels very like this. I guess it's like theater. Like so, for those who don't know, Zach and I met doing community theater. Like that's like an established thing. Theater's been going on a while. Live reality games are brand new. They feel super dorky. Like we've talked about this. Like that. It's like LARPing essentially. You're
Mhm.
just LARPing a reality show.
Yeah.
So it does. I appreciate that you are enthusiastic about it through beyond the
Yeah.
end of the, like we still make
Yeah.
jokes about like what if Rupert played Millennium Park 1? It's just like we just like make up nonsense about it. Like,
Yeah, it's similar. Like if anyone plays D&D or anything like that, like you meet someone who else who plays it and it's great. You don't like volunteer like, oh, I play Dungeons and Dragons, like to strangers, you know? Like,
well, no, we're decent members of society.
yeah.
Um, so Zach, let me, so we were host and player season one, co-producers season two, and then co-producers again on season three. Uh, what going into season, so yeah, I guess in retrospect, I guess I kind of talked myself into season two, and I just used you as a scapegoat. Surely you must take responsibility for talking me into season three. Surely you can admit that.
I'm trying to remember it. I mean, look, if there was no interest, it was never gonna happen. But I feel like should we pull the curtain back and like get into like the conversation of,
Yeah, yeah.
when we were discussing what season three even would be? Because I think that's where it started, is you had some interest, but you weren't fully sure on it. And so we
Yeah.
discussed a bunch of different ideas, and I think it was like the thing you eventually latched on that eventually got the ball rolling for your interest was the idea of returning players, was what eventually made you passionate about really wanting to do this in some form. And
I,
so I definitely I probably threw out a billion things to try and think of something
well,
because
what I remember is because I I went into it like season two as like you see in the season like there were like some things like I did not run so well, like a challenge went really wrong, or like I did not like train I didn't like get people ready for like some of the twists that were going on. So like there were some things in season two, like I'm blown away that we pulled off the outcast twist, but I was very hard on myself for like the things that I felt didn't go as well. So there was a big part of me that was like, all right, we went to the well too many times. Like we shouldn't have done a season two. Like season one should have been it. It should have been like, oh, what a fun thing that we did, and that's the end of it. Um, I go into these like I'm never just gonna do it because like, oh, it's summer, so we have to do another one. I want to like see something new or like something that I get excited about. So I had told you that yeah, I think that in order to do this, there has to be returning players. I'm not really interested in a whole new group of 14. Not that we couldn't find 14 interesting people, but like I have a much harder time when I'm not as invested in the stories. I think that um season two had a lot of people in it who like I just didn't know as well. So like not that they weren't lovely and like fun to do the show with, but I think that I had a harder time getting bought into like spending hundreds of hours on this thing without a lot of people that I know. So I knew that it would be, and we'll definitely talk about the casting for season three, but I was like, there has to be returning players. I think that the moment it became real for me is when you started to talk to me about doing a swap, which is like not like a revolutionary twist, but like you had these really cool ideas around like, we do the twist, we do the swap at lunch, and that there's like, one-on-one pairings from like the opposite tribes, and like that's how they start to meet each other, and then it's a swap. Do you remember this conversation?
I definitely remember the swap being where like you seem to really buy into it working. And I don't remember, it must have been all at once because I had been thinking through ideas for like how to do a swap right. And like the idea of the schoolyard pick, the way we did it was part of it. Because I think part of your worry was like, if I remember, is your worry was just like the tribes would be uneven and they wouldn't gel at all. And so the swap would just be boring because whatever tribe was in the majority.
Hmm.
And so we got a little lucky with both tribes winning and losing a challenge so that the numbers could be even. But
So
the way
lucky.
the schoolyard pick works, even if one tribe was up 7-5, one tribe at least would have even numbers, and then the other tribe would be lopsided. So it was a way to sort of mitigate that. Plus, it helped a lot with it being like something about it being fans versus favorites and them having distinct identities almost made it easier for them to gel because like they weren't just all a bunch of like random people coming together. Like there was something about having a group that was like this pronounced group of favorites
Hmm.
that like almost encouraged people to commingle. I don't know what it is, but I feel like it played out that way.
No, I could not be more thrilled with how the swap played out. I've talked
Yeah.
about this on a couple of the out of the 11 hours of postseason interviews that we posted recently. I talked about this with a couple of people that like we also really stumbled to like the perfect combinations on the swap tribe where it's like on the new Mira tribe, you have the three favorites who are tight, the three fans who are separated, and then you have the opposite on the other group. We have the three fans that are tight and the three favorites that are separated. So like we really did get like the most interesting combinations possible, I think, from like the players remaining like there's nothing I can think of that I was like, ooh, but like, what if? Like, I love that swap. I think that was
Hmm.
so perfect. You know, I season one, I wanted to do a swap. Have I told you this before?
Probably somewhere along the line. It sounds vaguely familiar.
Well, our 300 viewers have not heard this yet. So I had the idea that in season one, at the final 11, no, I forget how it worked out, but like somehow there's going to be a swap where like one person is not swapped and they get like a vote steal advantage and then they join the tribe that loses. And yeah, I guess it would have been final 11 because then it would have been two more rounds and then the merge at nine. And my wife Liz was like, "Don't you think it'd be more fun for them if they all just got to like spend the day with their team and like you can track those stories all the way to the end of the day?" And I was like, "Oh, that's so much better. Like you're so yeah, that makes so much more sense for." So I do love that. Even from season two, I love the storytelling of like you see this team go all the way as far as they can before they're not a team anymore.
Mhm.
Um, and I think of things in season three, like, damn, like there was no resolution to like John and Tony. Like that sucked. Um, but for all the fun we got out, like, I don't know, you watch the Kim boot, it's like it's hard to argue that we shouldn't have done a swap when you get the Kim boot, you know what I mean?
No, yeah, that whole thing, the fact that yeah, John ends up this odd man out on the stride. He has to literally like lift this entire tower himself, or he's probably going home. And then the subsequent tribal council for the other tribe. It's really a perfect storm of things.
So let's talk a little bit about. I feel like this is like the hot button thing that like people will be actually interested to hear about is probably
Oh, okay.
casting for season three.
Okay,
Caroline
yeah.
submitted a question. I want to hear more about the casting process, which for people who don't know, uh, Caroline was part of the reason we even did a season three because she came up to us at a Johnny Fairplay watch party, which are not as good as the Bryson Wendell watch parties in my opinion,
It's
or the
true, it's
RHAP
true.
watch. I well, the RHAP watch parties are kind of their own thing because then you have to sit through a live podcast.
Yeah.
Which is weird. But Caroline came up to us at a bar. I was like, "Oh my God, are you from Millennium Park? Like, so nice to meet you. Like, I hope you do another one." And I was like, "You know what? For such an outgoing, what's the opposite of an introvert? Extroverted person
Extrovert.
to like, I couldn't even imagine. I'd be so shy. Even if I've seen people at these watch parties that I'm dead certain I know who they are. I'm familiar with them. I might even follow them on like, whatever social media because they're funny, and I'm too shy." I was like, you know what? If that's the kind of person we could get on season three, I think we got to do a season three. So for the casting, Zach, this was like the big thing that uh, I leaned on you in a number of ways in pre-production, but I remember very specifically, I was like, I need to practice a little bit of letting go and a little bit of letting other competent people who I trust run things, and you ran the casting for the new players. Do you want to talk a little bit? So, and then I took the returning players. Do you want to talk a little bit about the your process, which I now have to answer for, by the way? Twice this summer, I met people who were like, I applied for Millennium Park 3, and I was like, so do you want to? Which I'll I can tell that in a minute, but do you want to talk a little bit about your process? Like, what were you looking for? Like, I don't know. What are you thinking?
Yeah, well, I definitely wanted to be involved with the casting, especially when it finally landed on fans versus favorites. Casting was something I really enjoyed for the two seasons I've done of the Genius Massachusetts. And it's something I do think I am good at. Also, compared to season two, where I think you interviewed like almost every person who applied.
I did.
You're talking about really needing to lean on other people. That was something I was like, Dylan, like I can help here. I can help. So in terms of applications, and LRGs are definitely growing as a very niche hobby. Um, I don't remember the exact amount. It was a very solid number of applications. Do you remember how many
I think
apps we
I
had?
think over 50. I
I
think
wanted to
over
say over
50.
50 as well. So I interviewed a decent number of people from that. So like the kind of talk through how I approach casting. My first thing I genuinely start with is like when I'm watching the video or reading the application is like, do I think I'd want to be friends with this person and do I think I'd want to hang out with them? There are people whose videos I watched, like maybe one or two where I was like, oh, this person seems like good TV, but like just get the ick from them, and I just don't think I want to be around them. And that's especially for a game like Millennium Park where you've always cared about the type of people you're casting, and you're not casting for drama or things like that.
Right, right.
It's a good mentality to have, and I think it works for me because I think I'm a pretty agreeable person. Like I'm not gonna not consider casting or interviewing someone because they seem obnoxious or odd, because I love obnoxious or odd or weird people. Um, so I think it's a mentality that works. So, and then just with these interviews, it was very easy to end up putting this cast together. It certainly helped because we only had to cast 7 people from the applicants, and we really were able to pick the best. But it wasn't just a matter of just who we like the most or who I like the most in recommending these people. I think also when you're casting, you really need to look, expect for a competitive game like this, especially if it's being filmed. You need to look at just like the levels that people are providing.
Yeah.
So for example, like Melody is TV gold and should be in every LRG. But I don't think like 14 melodies would be good. I think that would end up being too much, and it would be like how good Melody is confessionals would be lost if you were constantly getting that.
Yeah.
Similarly, like I don't think 14 Tonys would work.
Mhm.
14 John Tons would be fun, but it's probably not Survivor at
That's a
that point.
different TV show,
It's just the
14 John.
John Ton experiment. So you need people who bring like different things for television or
Yeah.
YouTube or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
as well as just different play styles. Like again, a tribe of 7 melodies all trying to like lead from the front just doesn't work. A tribe of 7 like hymns wouldn't work,
That would be
where
a tight tribe.
yeah, they'd all just like
They they
yeah,
would not break ranks at all.
exactly. 7 Carolines, who's flipping if they're all flipping
How
them,
would they flip
like
on each other? Whose mom would get voted out if it was just
yeah.
seven Carol?
Um, so it was about just we had a lot of great standouts, but
Yeah.
also it just very naturally fell together, like who gelled and like who provided different things.
Yeah.
And I think you really see that in the end with the fans cast, is that it's 7 really killer people who all provide something different.
Yeah. Do you remember that we had a couple people in the mix who ended up not making the cut uh because they seemed too blatantly competent?
Yes, that is actually another thing that I've learned over time when it comes to not just the different play styles, but also the abilities.
Yeah.
There's a good number of people who like would be good for a number of reasons, but like they just had a lot of LRG experience. And I don't, apart from Melody playing Northeast, or I think Josh played one like 1 day game before
Yeah,
this,
I
but
think
there
so.
really isn't like experience with the fans tribe.
Yeah.
Um, which you kind of need because like it almost wouldn't it probably wouldn't work if like you got the fans tribe and here's the favorites they've played before. Oh, but one of the fans has played like 12 days through LRGs and like has won a game and like sat in final tribal council. Like it just wouldn't work. It also like the more you play these things, the better you get. And
Yeah.
like if you've got someone who like has made it to the end before in a game against a bunch of newbies, and some people haven't even watched Survivor, um, they're going to do.
Exactly.
And so it helps to have, very similar skill levels, as well, or very least experience levels, when you're putting together a cast like this.
I think part of it too is that we're looking for people with like obvious foibles. Like we want there to be
Mhm.
like a maybe even me saying that these other players were too competent, but I feel like there wasn't like an obvious weakness. Whereas I feel like all of our players, it's like here's their strengths, here's their
Mhm.
weaknesses. Which is going to win out? Like, are they going to play to their strengths? Or are they going to get caught up in like whatever holds them back? Uh, and I think we did a great job finding 7 people that like here's what they're good at, here's what they're not so good at, and like which is going to win out at the end of it. Whereas like you never want to, I don't know, like how boring is it if it's like, well, you got one person in there who's just like really like they just have the perfect skill set for this. They're gonna get to the end every time, and if they get to the end, they're gonna win every single time. Like that's not so fun to watch. So I have tried to explain to people like we are looking for goofballs. We are looking for like a certain like goofy
Yeah.
energy,
Yeah,
but
honestly,
also
that it
like
helps a lot.
like very savvy people. Like I
Mhm.
can't like look at any of the 7 fans and like any of them could be the winner of an LRG. One of them was the winner of this LRG.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I, yeah, I've been confronted a couple times this summer. People that are like, "Hey, why wasn't I cast? I played another LRG, Zach, where one of the players came up to me. I don't think I was spoiling anything, and he's like, just so you know, I know who you are." And I was like, "Yeah, like I'm not keeping that a secret. Yeah, I'm the guy from Millennium Park. Yeah, yeah, yeah." Like, I was like, "Did you?" He was like, I applied for season 3. I was like, "Oh, sorry. Like my I had a friend who ran
My casting guide rejected you. He never sent your info over to me. What was he thinking? Oh, I'm gonna fire that guy.
I'm docking Zach's pay. Like he's gonna. So it's been very funny, like having to explain to people, like, and honestly, I think both of the people who said this to me were in that category of like, oh, you seem very savvy at this. Like I don't see an obvious like quirk about you that's like, ooh, like let's see if we explore that a little bit. Like it was all just like, oh, like you'll just be the winner of the season. Like that'll be
I'm,
nice for
I'm sure
you.
I'm sure they bought that excuse that oh you just seemed like you'd be too good. I'm sure that really was like oh I believe that Dylan. Thank you. Now I understand why you didn't cast me.
I'm sure that that helped. Let's talk. Should we talk a little bit about casting the favorites?
Yeah, absolutely. I know this was what you took the lead on. Just sending me different like could be this, could be this. Here's how it's going. So I'd love to hear about it again.
Well, I think that we did a couple configurations because there was a couple ideas before it was fans versus well, first it was all stars before it was anything. I was like, well,
Yes,
well, maybe it's all stars, and then I start sending out messages to people, and like most people are like, yes, that sounds great. Like, tell me when and where I'll drop anything to be this, and then I got a couple people that were like, maybe, and I was kind of like, okay, like if you're not in, you're not like that's okay if you're not interested in this.
maybe.
If you're, um, I think it just reached a point where like, and then other people were like, oh, like I'd love to, but like the dates that you're looking at don't work for me. And I think just very quickly we are like, okay, like there's not enough people to like pull off an all stars just based on like scheduling. I maintain that like if all 28 people that were available from the first two seasons, we could have had a fantastic all returnee season, but not all of them were available. So that is what that is. And we had kicked around the idea of doing like four returning players and doing like two captains,
Oh
five newbies,
yeah.
and that it was going to be, I think the captains were like Dan, Tony, Emma, Karina is I think who I had in mind. So then it was like two from each season. And then eventually we were like, okay, like we can up this to fans versus favorites. Like we could do a whole team. And we had, I don't know if it's like rude to say the people that were in the mix that didn't make it, but we had 10 people. I think we had like 10 people in the mix for the seven spots. And one person in particular, who I hope he knows who he is, who I think that I was like, man, if like one person, it was just like the combinations of like former tribes and like people who knew each other. I was like, if one person falls out like this, I'm pushing this guy to the like we're getting him in. And I was like, is the guy that I look at? I'm like, damn, like could we have just done a double elimination, Dylan? You could have had 16 people, and like that would have been exciting. Like we started reaching out to people like back in January to say like, like we're not guaranteeing anything, but like, are you available? Are you interested? And we start to get the interest, and then I think Dan says in his interview that like this was like the exact group he expected, minus he thought Julia would be there. Which like Julia, yeah, I received a lot of questions of like, why wasn't Julia one of the favorites? So shout out Julia, you were
Shout out
certainly
Julia.
missed.
But if we have Julia, I don't think we cast
Lizzie.
Lizzie. And
It-
so the season's totally different, not
That's
just for whoever Julia gets swapped in for.
that's the thing is with these relationships that exist between current players and former players. Like, yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, well, Julia already got to the end with one of her friends. We can't
Mhm.
we can't have her and another friend.
That happened honestly on the fan tribe too. There was like non-zero amount of people who knew people we knew wanted to come back for favorites. So just we couldn't put them on the fans tribe.
Exactly. Shout out Tony's dad who applied, but unfortunately, Tony kept the secret. He was a really good sport about it. So shout out Tony's dad if you're watching this. You have a spot on season four, my friend. You have a spot on season four.
That's the final two, Tony's dad and Jacob.
Oh my God. Yes. Our biggest supporters. Um, I'm trying to think if there's anything else worth saying about the casting for the favorites. We didn't tell any of so all of the favorites knew that it would be a mix of new and returning. We never explicitly said it's fans versus favorites. I think that they all Tony told me that he thought it might be like him and Julia as like the two captains as like the last jury members, which like as soon as he said that after that, I was like, what a great yeah, that would have been
That would be
great.
really great. Yeah.
That'd be so
Um,
good.
just the funny story that I don't think is going to get shared anywhere else. When we were waiting up on the hill, with the favorites, I believe Dan, Sarah, and Tony had gotten there, and then Jean from season two walks over, and she's like, "Hey guys," and I'm like, "Oh hey Jean," because some crew was supposed to go there as well. And I'm start talking to Jean, and the other three are just staring at her, waiting for me to hand her a buff. And I go, Jean, do you like, did Dylan tell you what the season is? And she's like, no, what's up? And I'm like, oh, they're playing.
Which I want the Gene, I don't know if you're watching this, but I want the record to show the only reason I didn't ask you is because you told me explicitly you never wanted to do it again.
That will get in the way of casting people is them not wanting to to deal with this again.
There were so many people that like I would have asked, and it just was a matter of like I again, it feels like weird to like name too many names, but like there were definitely people that like I never asked, but just from the perspective of like I don't think that this was like your favorite thing you ever did. Like I don't get the impression you like really want to be a part of this again. So yeah, people like G, but like so many people like Gene, Julia, Drew, like so many people came back to like do crew. Like that was so nice. I think that the
Hmm.
way that these things build on each other with like people coming back year after
Yeah.
year, just to be a part of it is so nice.
Hmm.
Anything else to say? Oh, I have a question from Caroline.
Oh, let's go.
Caroline says, Zach, why didn't you play in season three?
Well, that was my plan. Like, I don't know if I've told anyone this, but I was gonna kick Jonton down the hill and just put on the buff. I mean, if someone drops out day of, I mean, what do we do? I've got the buffs. Like, if someone doesn't show up, I just throw one on and walk. If I walk in, you're not gonna mess up the shot. Like, if I walk in with the favorites, I know you won't risk messing up the footage. Like, I
That's
could have
true.
just put myself. If I hadn't, it's too bad I wasn't at the live tribal, that Josh was, because I would have just sat back down with everyone after the chaos and just put myself back in the game.
Just be like,
Um,
just grab one of the extra buffs that I had and just be like,
no, we're joking. We're joking. The real reason, of course, as we discussed, we didn't want anyone who would obviously win, so I couldn't have been on. I couldn't have been on the.
I remind me, I think that at one point I think I said to you at some point, like, hey Zach, like, I don't think we're deep enough in that like you couldn't like drop out of being a producer and play. Like you tell me what would you rather do? Like if you want to be a player, like I'm not telling you anything else. I'm scrapping everything I've already told you and we're starting fresh, but you can be a player if you want that. And you're like, Dylan, I would rather help you make this happen.
Yeah, if I could have both, I would, because that would be a great unfair advantage if I could design the first challenge and then play in it. Uh,
Right.
but
Would
but
you do a math puzzle?
yeah, I would put myself on every position. Actually, I would say none of the above, and I would have done the whole first challenge.
Does every challenge plays to your specific strength? For this challenge is you have to nail an audition for a community theater play. It's like, oh, it's a farce. All right, this is Zach's wheelhouse.
We could
Um,
finally get in the Millennium Park trivia challenge that I've been bugging you about
oh my God.
for
Yeah,
so long.
let's talk about challenge. That's next on my list. Is let's talk about challenges. So challenges are like the thing that I care the least about in these. Like since the Berkshires days, I've been doing this 12 years, people. I've never cared about my challenges. I always see them as like what is slightly fairer than a coin toss to decide who's going to tribal council because that's the interesting stuff. But this season I did say to you in advance, I was like, look, that's my weakness. I got to put more effort into these. You always do a phenomenal job. There are so many challenges that like didn't make it into season two or three that are like, do you remember you had an idea that was like it was like big sticks carrying a thing? Do you remember
Oh, I
this?
really want to do the Survivor China giant chopstick
Giant
challenge where they
chopsticks.
have to
Yeah.
carry, like, I was picturing like one person each has like a giant 2x4 or something, or a wooden
Yes.
plank, and they'd have to carry like styrofoam balls. I really wanted to make like something like that work, and we
But
just didn't have like a good position for it.
and that you've also run into working with the only LRG producer who thinks that every one of his players has like paper skin and glass bones and that like everyone is like prone to like die on camera. Like I can't hand John Ton a two by four.
so
Like
so scared to just challenge your play, just so scared to watch people struggle, which I think comes from, it sounds like there were some challenges that went long in the Berkshires, and like on a puzzle, yeah, give them a hint. But like you start panicking when a stage of the challenge lasts like 2 minutes. You're like, it's been like 20 minutes. Like, we've been out here forever. Everyone hates me. Like, we're never gonna get through. Maybe I should just tell them to skip this step. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? Like, how are we gonna, oh my God, it's just like,
do you remember the Berkshires or not Berkshire, the Millennium Park 2 opening challenge where like they couldn't balance the ball and like just in the middle of it you hear me go like You guys only have to do three balls. Forget five balls. You only have to do three. And then in the challenge explanation, like it's such bad editing, kind of on purpose as a joke. That's like, you have to carry three balls across the field.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
have any favorite challenges that we did, or like any favorite part of designing a challenge that you
Well, so I
remember?
think if I remember, one of the things that we wanted to build off of coming from season two is we when we did season two, we had the idea of like these two teams and like how they work together. So we designed challenges with teams really highlighting teamwork, like them balancing and passing
Yeah,
the balls together in the open challenge. And then we saw a season play out where teams kind of really stuck together. So we wanted to then, coming off of that, really try and highlight the idea of the individual and like get people to really play an individual game.
I'm so glad you're talking about this. Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought this up. Continue. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So that's how like I came up with the idea of the first challenge is of literally like a bunch of individual stages and one person as a leader who has to sign people to it. And then it couldn't have played out better, except for Karina, who was my best friend. So oops, sorry. But it couldn't have played out better where the favorites have this huge lead and then the fans are able to come back in the end. But I think, I think it ended up working out because this was a very individual gameplay season, even though there were like tight groups
yeah.
that stuck together. Like overall, this was definitely a season where I think people were looking out for each other.
Oh yeah.
So that was a design philosophy we had going into it, and I think it ended up paying off.
I'm with you.
When yeah,
No, sorry to interrupt there, but no,
no, go
I
ahead.
agree. I kind of I like forget, and of course, like we like say it on camera that this season is about the individual
I mean, this
journey.
was so. I mean, this must be a year and a half ago. We just. I mean, no, from now actually, it's so long ago when we actually
You and I,
discussed this.
because you and
Yeah.
I were ta you and I started talking about this like October of 2023, I think.
Yeah.
Because we went to the fair, and afterwards it was like, hey, like we kind of talked about this. Like,
Hmm.
I think you might have, I think you were the first one to say like last time was about like you have to work together, like you
Yeah.
can't succeed on your own, and this time is about actually you can only succeed on your own. Like we saw, like, oh, one team just picked off the other one. That does you can't play that way anymore. You're not
No, no, no. We're gonna
philosophically.
make you. We're gonna make you play as an individual. We're gonna throw so many advantages at you for being an individual.
So many advantages, just extra votes. And that they kept thinking that they would get a better advantage, and that it was always an extra vote, and they just start laughing at me. By the end of the day, when I'm the winner will get an extra vote, and Tony's like, oh, and Melody's like, they're just mocking me. No, yeah, that first challenge, I mean, so much fun. I mean, everything about that, like, I had never done a challenge with knots before because I was like, there's no way to do them consistently so that they're like fair and that they're challenging. And then like my wife is just very good at tying knots apparently, and she came up with 45 knots for both players to have to do. I was like, oh my God, like this is nuts. Um, that was super cool. Yeah, I can't watch the first challenge without like just breaking out in a smile when like Lizzie wins at the end. Like they were so excited. Like they were like like they just locked in and they got it done. Like that was such a cool moment. And, like then the fans celebrating all together. Um, I really love the third challenge where they stock the boxes. I think I told you when we first started brainstorming challenges, I this was when Liz and I bought a house, and there was like a lot of moving boxes, and there's something about like the car. I'm in my attic and I still have a couple unpacked boxes from 2023. Just like looking at like the smaller ones and be like, these are cheap, they're light, so nobody can get hurt using them. Like these would be like a very visually impressive looking challenge. You're like, we don't have a huge budget for the challenges. And again, like because we're like at a public place, like there's not a lot of places for us to like store things. So I was like,
Mhm.
these might be perfect. So I ordered 20 10-inch by 10-inch boxes, painted them all. Uh Again, like that's one that I look back on, like I'm not thrilled with how I refereed that one. I mean, you can tell in the video that like the pink team like technically didn't win and that like I just edited to look like they won, but
They were
uh
gonna win anyway. John Ton was lifting the tower, so
exactly.
they were always gonna win.
John
But
Tom was always
I think that challenge is also where we really realized, or at least I did. It's like, oh, for Dylan, it's the visual of the thing. It's how is it gonna come out in the final YouTube product.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because for any if anyone else is watching this who like produces their own LRG, I think my advice would be when you're designing challenges, you have to think through like what does this look like on YouTube? And like, where do your camera people go? Like, it's one thing, it's like you have to map out like where the players go, and you have to map out where the camera people go. Like we do a test day with camera people and dream team players, and then during the actual thing, like we have a little Bible of like, I mean, like we have like the player, like this is the route the players go, and here's where the camera people go, and you have to decide, if it's a relay race and the players are like going down two lanes, you have to decide like, okay, are the camera people inside or outside the lanes? Are they stationary? Like, if Zach is running back and forth past me, do I just stand still and watch him? Or am I like following him while he goes back? Like, am I running alongside him essentially? So, uh, to all the LRG producers watching this, because you want my advice, because I'm the best in the business. You've got to that'd be my advice is think through where your camera people go during the challenges. 'Cause I think that just makes a world of difference to like you could have a huge budget and if like it doesn't if like the challenges don't look good on YouTube, it's like eh like it kind of like deflates it a little bit. So loved the boxes one. Um you came up with the auction. Like I think I don't even remember if I told you I wanted to do one, but I was that like, I was like Zach, I
No,
want to do one, but like
yeah,
how do you make this into something?
yeah, I remember. I think we were walking around when you weren't sure if this was going to be a Millennium Park or not. We were at a different park, and you were like, "Oh, could
Yes.
the auction work as a challenge?" And then I just spit out an idea of them just auctioning for something that was worth points, and then I just fine tuned it from there. And I really like how the auction turned out. Like it's still it's got that fun auction energy. I wish we could do like there was a way to make even wackier stuff work in it, but
I
like it really
know.
works like as a challenge.
I love that challenge. And I remember like doing it during practice day and like having this like moment of like, oh my God, it worked. Like that was a game. Like people thought like and then Dan in his postseason interview talked about like figuring out like the like he used like his like fantasy sports experience to like kind of figure out like, oh, here's how this works when you're like wagering on things like this. I was like, oh, okay, so that was
Hmm.
a real game. That's awesome. Back in Survivor Berkshires, I did two auctions where it was like food and snacks for all of it, and then just the last item was like individual immunity. And like like all of them were just like high school friends of mine, so they're all like, "Oh, I have the most money left, so I guess I get that." I did one year. I did like one. Oh, what did somebody buy? One time, somebody bought a full rotisserie chicken. Berkshire's won. One of the auction
Wow.
items was a full rotisserie chicken.
Wow. Was it Tom?
Oh my God. Tom bought a lemonade, I think. I think that one of the rewards was like a whole jug of lemonade. Because I don't know. That was my season of the most like, this has to feel like Survivor. So they have to eat a rotisserie chicken. And like, Tom has a big thing of lemonade. Who is Tom gonna share it with? Like that.
You made Tom pick someone to share the lemonade with. That's
I
what we needed more of. Who are
I
you gonna share this reward with? This
I will I will
5 minute reward.
I will say, I think that's one thing that I would love to figure out how to incorporate into a season four is like a reward challenge at the final seven where the winner picks two people to share it with. But it's like, it's such a short game. It's like, what kind of reward do you give them that like can actually like expose something? Is it just enough that like they have to pick people so that exposes it? Um, I don't know, but I think about that. That's like one thing that I think of like what could season four be is like I feel like reward
Is
challenges. I
is
don't know.
is your one of that where we got the idea for the immunity friendship bracelet? Is that where that came from? Where did that come from?
I feel like you came up with the friendship bracelet. Did I
Is
come up
it
with the
maybe because
friendship?
it's very similar to how immunity works in the Genius? So maybe it is something.
I
Maybe
think
I wanted it like a bunch of times, and you were like, "Yeah, we'll do it
yes.
for the first time." Yeah, I think
Yes,
that's
I
it.
think that was it. I think you came up with the concept. I think I came up with like what the item would be. Is like
Yeah,
I was like because it was like a big I think like it was a big like Taylor Swift summer, so I was like, oh, like a friendship bracelet would be funny. Um
it's really funny. It's a shame it broke, but I love it.
I guess on that note, my next thing is like let's talk about twists a little bit, but we can
Hmm.
start with the friendship bracelet. Yeah, I loved that. And like the way it played out like perfect. Like if a fan won it, it's like okay, like now Josh and James are safe. It's like, okay, well, like that, I guess the favorites are cooked. Like that's too bad. But like the fact that it's the favorites get it and he gives it to Tony and Sarah has an idol, like,
Hmm.
oh my God, so good.
Couldn't have worked out better. It
Could
really
not
couldn't have.
could not have worked out better. Do you
Yeah.
remember the twist that I had my heart set on doing this season that Eric, you tried to talk me out of it, and I was like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And then finally I had to like sit down with Eric and he had to talk me out of it. Do you remember this?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I talked you out of so much, I think. Probably. You're gonna say it, I'm gonna go, oh yeah,
I
probably.
wanted to do the beware advantages from Survivor 41 and 42 where they had to say a stupid phrase.
Yeah, 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 I remember. Yeah.
I wanted to do that so for the viewers who are interested in this kind of thing, I so desperately wanted there to be like like one. So the first element I was like I don't know if they lose their vote. I was like that feels like for such a small game like lose your that just sucks. We're not doing vote steals. We're not doing lose your votes. Like that would ruin my weekend if I lost my vote. So we're not doing that. But maybe it's like okay, you think you have something, but you have to wait for somebody else to say a phrase, and the phrases were all going to be about me. So like I was going to do Matt chat, and then I wanted like Tony to find the beware advantage and like get up in front of the group and be like I just like when I'm like, any questions about the challenge? The hero would be like, I just want to say, Dylan, like, you're doing a great job running this. And like, we've all been saying, Dylan is like a father figure to us. We've all been saying that all day. And then hoping that like somebody on the other team then jumps in with their phrases like, I agree. I suggested to my team, Dylan should run for local office. He'd be great at it. He'd have my vote. Like, I want it, like, so that it's not just like, oh, there's a bunny in a mailbox and people go, Survivor. But the idea that it'd be like something kind of like goofy and like so specific
Yeah,
to
that wouldn't trigger any alarm bells. People being like, "Well, we haven't been saying that."
but the
What
idea that
happens if
like
your mom has to be like, "Oh, Dylan's like a father figure to me." Like, you don't think that no one's gonna be like, "Hmm, is something going on?"
well that and then maybe she has to be not to me of course because I'm his mother but like I'm sure that the rest of the the young people on my team are saying Dylan carries himself with such maturity he's like a father like I was so into this idea and Eric who was he was in the mix to be a player until I was talking to him and I was like Eric if I think of like the place where you will have the most impact on this season, it is like I need to talk to you about game design because I think of like when you and I talked, Zach, after season one, and you were like, "Why did you do the fast round at the final seven? Like that's when something interesting would have happened. Like you got to let them talk at the final seven." And I was like, "Oh right, yes, of course. If there hadn't been a fast vote out right after Johnton goes, you would have rallied the minority. I don't
I
know,
would
like
have
so,
won,
you
as
would have
everyone
won."
always says.
So I was like, I need to consult. I was like, I trust, Eric's good at game design. Like I've got to talk to him about a few of these. You did talk me out of plenty. He was, I think uh, he had some feedback on the second swap because he was like, if you do a second swap and they know it's the end of the day, they're always just going to vote out the biggest threat. And that I told him this. I was like, that kind of excites me, honestly.
Yeah.
Like maybe that sucks for that person, but like, my God, what a way to end day one. That like like a huge vote out happens at the end of the day to like then push us into the merge. I was like, I love that.
Mhm.
And we lost a huge character in Emma that round, so that definitely hit me hard.
I
Um,
mean, we were always gonna lose. I mean, with this cast, and I know we moved on from casting, but like, there was no like, yeah, this person's probably the first boot, and or like, oh, this person probably goes early, no big deal. Which also means, there's no one who were like, oh, well, if they get towards the end, there's not much of a story. Like, there was never going to be an easy early boot with anyone on this cast.
I know the it's funny because like while I was editing it, I was like, oh my God, this boot order is brutal. Like all five of these first boots are amazing characters, and then
Mhm.
you get to day two, it's like, oh, the nine people still here are amazing characters. Like we never ran out of great people, which was fantastic. I guess on the twists, we did extra votes where you could like I think because you helped me I think figure out like okay like how do we give them extra votes and then we tied back to the idea of like the individual journey and that like well if you do the best at the challenge you also get an advantage. You remember
Mhm.
that?
Um, no.
Okay.
I was gonna try and pretend that I.
Sorry. Anything else with the twist that you I mean like we
Yeah, so for twists, so I feel like they all ended up coming into play. Like I think the second swap worked out really well.
yeah.
It was good to have more mix-ups going into the merge, but I do think that last vote is very interesting. The extra votes, of course, work. Other than your mom getting blind, or because your mom got blindsided, I guess, but you had to suffer because of the success of our creations. Um, I forget if it even makes it into the episode, but Melody's extra life that she got from
Oh,
the
yeah, that she got
auction
that
that
yeah, for people that
does
don't know,
also.
Melody does drop in that challenge, but I like called it poorly. Like I stopped counting when she took her hand off, but she like put it back up. Like so she was still within the 10
Yeah, like
seconds.
she like looked balanced at when you would at four, so you stopped counting, and then she like adjusted it, and like it was still within the 10
Yeah, it was
seconds.
still
You just didn't verbalize it. You
yeah, I
probably could
think
have put it in, honestly. I think that's just you being harsh on yourself.
no, I was embarrassed because like you could hear like a couple people be like, "You should have kept counting," and I was like, "No, I realize that now." So I was like, you know what? Melody's been so nice to me all weekend. I'm gonna make her look really good here, and she didn't drop once. She nailed that challenge.
Yeah. Were there
Um,
any other twists? We had a successful idol play this season.
Successful idol
It was
play.
great.
I know that
Yeah.
I and you know like we debate. I mean like I said before, like the extra vote got laughed at because it's like everyone's like, oh, another extra vote. But like I said, I hated the idea of like a vote steal. Like in the real show, I love a vote steal, but in this where it's like you have so few opportunities to vote and like you've been waiting so long to play this and like what your vote gets stolen and then you're out and like then we just have you sitting on the jury all day like oh sorry Zach sorry that Kim stole your vote and now that you're voted out sorry like that would just suck, you know.
Remind me if someone got an extra vote earlier on, like we had the first one,
Yeah,
there was always going to be another opportunity. But if someone got in like the second or third challenge,
yeah,
were
so
we still going to have more?
we
Or
had
was
a
it just going to be up to two? I don't
we said that
remember.
it would be up to three so that
Okay.
somebody would definitely get it at the first challenge and then what I forget I guess this is in the episode no I think I cut this from the episode that it was like the person because I thought that they would be worse at charades. I was like, whoever the individual is from each team that does best at charades, they will each get an extra vote, unless there's a tie, and then that team doesn't get an extra vote. And then everybody tied, and I was like, okay, I guess no extra votes this time. The third challenge, no extra votes that round.
Yeah.
Fourth challenge, I think ladder ball it got cut out of because I didn't have the it just didn't make any sense. It was the same deal of like if you as an individual do the best at ladder ball on your
Yeah.
team, you will get an extra vote. If there's a tie on your team, nobody gets an extra
Mhm.
vote. So there were two challenges where it was guaranteed to give one out, assuming that we had not hit that
Yeah.
limit of three. Because we were like,
Yeah.
okay, more than three is like that's too much. That's too much.
That's too many extra votes.
Too many extra votes. Yeah, we had a lot of idols come in and out. So we had Brian's idol, which then goes out with him, goes back in and becomes Josh's. That goes out, gets played. That comes back in and becomes Melody's. And then the whole time Sarah's holding on to hers. And we had an interesting dilemma after Melody played hers of like, we don't really have anywhere else to put it. And we so we didn't hide it again after Melody played it. Because at that point we were like, okay, this like we get it. Like the idols happened this season.
Yeah, was it a dilemma? I feel like it was just I think we're good. I
Oh
think
yeah. It was you and I like kind of looked
technically it's a dilemma, but I think we were both in agreement like let's just let the season play out.
I
And perhaps we should in a fairness keeping the rules steady for the
yeah,
game, but like you said, we're limited in space and
yeah.
there's only so many tree trunks production members can stick their hands under.
I think that you and I looked at each other and there was this feeling of like I don't know, we've all seen it on the real show where like somebody finds an idol at like the final seven and that's how they like propel themselves to the end. And
Hmm.
it always feels like hollow compared to like I don't know, Sarah finds hers at the start and holds on to it. Love that. Gripping
Yeah.
television. You go, Sarah.
Hmm.
Somebody finds it at the final six and now they're at the final five. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
great. Good for them. You know, like I never like that. But yeah, this was a season where we're like, you know, we're gonna give them more tools. We just want to give them more to play with. I think that the way Eric has said it, and I don't know if he got this from somewhere, but I always steal it and I attribute it to him, is this idea of like, you know, you want to design the game in a way that like you give people like an opportunity to be an escape artist, is I think how he phrases it. Like you want to like there's like a trap for them and like can they wiggle their way out through like the tools that you give them? And I was like, I love that. I think that's such a cool way to think about it.
Yeah.
You mentioned Karina earlier when we were talking about the challenge, and I do have a question for you from Karina.
Oh, excellent.
Karina said, "Can you just talk about the Zach curse?"
Factors. So I cannot make winner picks ever again. When I make winner picks for LRGs, I mean, it kind of started with just Survivor years back. When I first got back into Survivor, it was after Kagayan. So San Juan del Sur was my first season, and I was between Jeremy or Val for my winner pick, and I picked Val, who flames out gloriously. And then season 30, I was between Mike or So Kim, and I picked So Kim. flames out gloriously, and then years go by, and then it's the Genius, Massachusetts, and I'm getting my friends to play this game. I'm recruiting. I'm getting just a bunch of people who think be good, and I get that final cast together, and I look at the cast, and I go, I think my winner pick is going to be Dylan Torchinsky.
I'm gonna
Uh,
turn my camera off. I don't want to be part of this.
so my winner pick will be Dylan Torchinsky, who is unfortunately the first boot of season one of the Genius, Massachusetts. Then I help with season two, Millennium Park, and I winner pick Angela. And then so there's another layer to it from there. Because after that I do the Genius season two, and I winner pick shout out Paul. I winner pick him. He is third place right before the finals,
That's
which
right.
is
That's
different
right.
than a Survivor finals because the Genius is like competition, but he goes right before the finals. And then we get Millennium Park. I get two winner picks, and I pick Karina and I pick Melody. So every winner pick is either first boot or they fall right
Last.
before finals. Either way, they're cursed, and I just shouldn't winner pick people ever again.
I always liked the story that when I was the first boot from the Genius, and you like very politely walked me out to my car, uh, that you came back into the house and said to everybody, "Well, there goes my winner pick," and then everyone was like, "Oh, he must be really good." And then it's like, no, Dylan's not good at games. Zach was just being nice and
I just
overestimated
vibed
me.
with him. I
Zach's
just
just
liked I just liked his vibes.
Zach's just biased.
Yeah.
That's very funny. I have a fun question. Colin from Millennium Part 2 submitted a
God.
question.
Yes.
Um, how do you think Colin and Tony would play together if they were both on the favorites?
Yeah, so they're both on the favorites. Who are we who I don't know. We just making it eight
It's just
people?
an
Do we not
eight-person tribe.
it is 8 person tribe. So Colin's there. Well, we have to now add an extra stage. I think in fairness to the first challenge. I think in fairness to Colin, it should be something he's good at.
Mhm.
So
Just being
maybe
a cool, likable guy.
just being yeah, just like posing for the camera for a bit. Um
Mixing
and that
drinks.
yeah, something like that. And then so they still lose. And then so I imagine Colin is really trying to work with Tony. So he's maybe following Tony all around, while Tony is chatting with like Emma and with Kim, and then maybe into confessionals. Maybe we make them tie their legs together like they're running a free-legged race, and turn it into a little twisty twist.
Now, this is a twist where it's like it's two guys, but they got one vote, and like they have to stay together the whole like if they unlink arms, they lose their vote for that round. So it's like
Yeah,
they have to agree on who they've okay, so this could be something. This could maybe this is what will make us do season four. Um, I'll say, Colin, uh, if you were on the East Coast, you would have been contacted for Millennium Park 3. I want you to know that. You're one of my people that was like, well, logistically, he certainly like I don't know. I always tell people like, especially like out of town applicants, like we won't film if it rains. Like it could be like morning of like, oh, weather's looking bad. Okay, guys, we're canceling. So like I'm not hosting this in the rain. So like I always warn, I think like Josh, I was like, I need you to understand. You might just end up spending a weekend in Boston. He was like, I'm ready, man. I'm ready. Like, let's go. Let's get. I'm like, okay, like if you, I trust you, Josh. I trust you.
yeah, well, Colin ultimately would have done well because he would have got there and he would have gone back to the Purple Tribe mantra of, all right, we're voting out Karina. Perfect. Let's get to it. I'm ready.
Colin votes out Karina for a third time. Although I guess Sarah voted out Karina for a third time, so I guess that's not unprecedented. No, I think Colin and Tony would have done some damage. I think that they are both strategically savvy players. I think Colin ended up in a funny spot in season two where he came in very excited to play, but I think just ended up on a team where like, not for anybody's fault, but like the vibe was just like if you're a big player, you're gonna go. So I think that he kind of like had to blend in, and then just ended up in a position where like it was just too late. Like a core group had formed, he was not part of it. I think that part of that is like, the lightning rods of like Eric and Karina attract so much attention for so much of that season, and then they go, and it's like, oh, we got them out, but like there's no options left. Like now we're just stuck here.
Would Colin and Tony have pulled a Jason and tried to hide the familial relation? And do
Oh,
you think that would have been a success since no one on our cast actually watches the show?
it's a good, and it also there's no season two unless you watch like the behind the scenes stuff. there's no reference to the fact that Colin and Tony are
Oh
cousins.
my God.
People watching this for the first time don't even know why
Should have
Colin
their
would have asked
minds
a question
blown.
about Colin. I didn't even mention that they're cousins. So people are like, why would Colin want to play on the season with Tony? Um, so shout out to you, Colin. Thanks for submitting a question. Zach, let me see. What else do I have on my list here? I have a note of like Dylan, if you're running low on time, you can talk about B-roll, music, foreshadowing, props. I want to say one thing about music. I want to say one thing about the music for the show. I use nothing but copyrighted music. And any day now, Russ Landau is coming for my ass, and all of it this is gonna get taken off of YouTube. So people need to enjoy it while they can. Uh there are so many clues that I put in to the season that no one will ever know except for me. And I'm going to share one. I share one in the Lizzie interview, so go back and watch the 11 hours of postseason interviews. But one of my editing clues uh, was something I did for Sarah, where for Sarah, I gave her the same theme music as another Survivor player who made it to Final Tribal Council twice. She has the same theme music as Russell in Samoa has. Both iterations. There's Russell theme 1 and Russell theme 2. You can hear Sarah's theme is like that. Wow, wow, do, 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 do. Do. And there's like two different iterations of it for like when she gets later on, it starts to get into like the slightly like slower version of it. So that was my subtle clue. I want to be very clear. There are no similarities between Sarah and Russell Hance.
I don't know. I hear Karina's socks went missing.
That's true. Other than the fact that they are great at finding idols and that they both make it to Final Tribal in two consecutive seasons. That's where the parallels end, people. But I just to more to amuse myself. So that's Sarah's theme music. Melody, Lizzie have theme musics. Jonton has like a goofy theme music. Like every time he walks on camera in season four or in season three, I don't. It's like like I don't there's something I don't remember the tune, so I'm making it sound more circusy, but like there's something fun.
Did you use again the thing you dubbed my theme from season one? I know you used it for like Jason in season two. Did you end up using
Yes,
it in
I
season
I
three?
recycled your theme for Jason in season two. Yes, that's a yes. I recycled your theme for Jason in season two. Um,
I feel like you didn't because I feel like I would have sat up like I would have bolted up like oh my God he's doing it again.
Let me see if I can find it in a way that doesn't take forever. I because I have a spreadsheet of all of my music choices, and I have
You have a
okay, season
spreadsheet of your music choice. Dylan, I really respect the effort you put into this editing. And it shows in the final product. Genuinely, I could never put this much effort into anything.
I appreciate it. No, no, John. Oh, I don't. Oh, that's weird. I didn't take a note of what Jason's theme was called. I have one song, and the note next to it is just Jason being suspicious. I have a Diem theme. I have a Carpe theme. I have Eric's theme. Um, Drew and Julia had a theme. Oh, Drew and Julia's theme is also John Tom's theme. Um,
Oh,
not due to like anything thematic, but just due to like it's like fun.
sounds good. Yeah.
Lizzie's
This
theme.
playlist will be coming to Spotify
Exactly,
after this.
exactly. Um, oh, Josh had a theme. Although I think um, Josh's theme is just that music that plays during his like idol play. It's like dun 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 or what, however it
Hmm.
goes. So that comes up when he plays the idol, and then during the live tribal, and then when he fakes out that he's about to play an idol. So those are the music. If any of you players are watching, you want to hear more about the music that I did or didn't give you, you can let me know. Yeah, Melody had a theme. Lizzie's theme.
Wow.
Lizzie's edit was supposed to
Interesting.
like take off in episode 4 when they got Jonton voted out. I think people missed it. I don't think I did it. I don't think I did a good job like telling that story of like, hey, actually, Lizzie's very good at this. You have to watch out for them because they're very good at this. Um, but anyway, I mean, I could talk about. I'll spare people having to hear about B-roll and all and like for.
Here's my question on editing because I feel like season one I was already so impressed and obviously I was biased because I'm watching myself and I'm gonna enjoy what I'm watching, but I really do think it holds up well. Do you think like do you feel you got to season one and you were like just where you needed to be as an editor? Do you think you've like learned and improved over time? Because you really do like I joke about it, but like as you can see from this, like you put a lot of work into your editing that you do. Do you think like there are things you've learned, or how have you improved as an
Well, that's a
since
very
season one?
that's a very kind question, Zach. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes, I think that. Um, I think that I understood some of the basic, and I don't have any like I've never like learned video editing. Like Berkshire's, the first three seasons were all done on Windows Movie Maker. And for some of them, I didn't even know how to like I couldn't even like crop the camera. So like we all filmed on like randomly sized cameras. Like the camera shots were all weird. No, this one I just went into it and I was like, want something. I want something that's like tight and fun to watch. I know that there's a lot of games out there, and this is not disrespect towards anyone specific because this applies to so many of them. Like the episodes are long. It's
Hmm.
a long amateur production to get through. And I was like, I want something that's like just the hits. And there are things that like happen in any of these seasons that feel like, oh, that was really exciting. Like I can't wait to see the video. And like the video of it just like isn't good. Like there's someone in the background, or like the audio didn't get picked up. It's like, sorry, like that can't be part of the story. Like you gotta move on. You gotta cut it. So I went into it knowing that I wanted it to be like tight and short, and that it was just gonna be these are just the hits. We're just playing the hits for Millennium Park 1. Um, and I mean, like now, like I as because I'm sort of a self-critical person, like I definitely like look back on like things from season 1. I'm like, oh, like I should have tightened that up. I mean, I've had episodes where like I pull them hours before they were supposed to go live because like I left in somebody saying when I could have cut it. Like the merge episode from Millennium Park 2 like barely made it out on time because like the night before I was like, Jean says and she's off camera. Like I could have cut the and like just gotten into the next sentence. So I like get down to like that level of like granularity of like if a person is not on camera, there is no guarantee that they've said what I'm saying they're saying. A lot of it's faked. I think of things in season 1 like the order of operations before the Jonton blindside, at the start of the episode when you start laying the groundwork for like maybe we go after Kim. Uh, I think that it's like I forget what the order is, but like I think I reversed it so that it looks like it happens in a slightly different sequence than it
Hmm.
actually does. Because I was like, well, that I think I forget why, but I was like, this makes more sense if it looks like Zach talks to these people in this order as opposed to like how it actually went, which
Hmm.
would have made sense because that was real life. Um, but I've definitely learned a lot about video editing. I think less about like the technical and just more about like what I think makes good TV. Like I gave some tips to another LRG recently that I'm helping with some not video editing, but like giving ideas for video editing. I think of things like, you know, uh the edit has to have a point of view. This I think it's boring if we try to go for like this is an objective retelling of what happened that weekend where we get to hear everybody's perspective. I'm like, no, you hear the perspectives that matter for that round. Like I think of like the best episode of Millennium Park 1 is the you and John double boot, and like Tony and Andrew, two fantastic confessionalists, do not have a confessional in that episode. And that does
Wow, I
not
never knew that.
because it's just like they just what they were not critical to that story. I was like, this is the
Oh.
story of Zach getting high on his own supply. He says, I'm gonna go crazy, and he goes crazy. Um, I think of like the Gene Boot season 1. I felt like I was like, I want this to feel like a dark turn in the game. Like, oh, like this is a tragedy. This is not like, ooh, the majority is pulled off something big. I'm like, no, this is like we should feel sad about this. I think of the Daltrey boot in season 3. There's a version of that this it's the story of Dan slipped by. It's the story of Caroline gets her revenge on all of the people that got in the way of her pulling a big move earlier. Uh, like Dan at that tribal council, like he makes like a goofy face, like, and I like crop it because I'm like, that's not the story. Like the story is not Dan is not sorry to Dan because I know Dan will watch this. But I told he was the one that I told this to. I was like, that's not the story of this episode. The story of this episode is Daltrey going is as bad as a public execution. Like we as an audience should be horrified that this happened. Which is language I steal that from Mark Burnett talks about the Gretchen boot in Borneo that way of like we should not see that as like a brilliant moment or like exciting. Like this is like a dark thing that has happened, and we as a culture are worse off that it happened. So
Everyone
I
else should be crying alongside.
exactly like everyone should be upset about the fact that Daltrey got voted out. So I think the edit has to have a point of view. It can't just be here's objectively what happened and like here's everybody's perspective. And like, we have to have opinions about like, okay, sure, this is what Josh is saying, but like, are we rooting for Josh? Are we rooting against Josh? I, as an editor, am always trying to tell people, here's how I think you should feel. And I'm wrong all the time.
Mhm.
I'm wrong all the time. I think that um there are I don't know if I have a good example. Like I have it happen all the time where like people are like, oh like I that character did not resonate with me at all. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like that person's wonderful in the show. Like they're so good. Like, what are you talking about?
Hmm.
Um, we don't get a lot of those. A lot of people like everybody on the show, but occasionally I get one that's like, ooh, like I was excited when they got voted. And I was like, what are you talking about?
So,
Um,
as a follow up to sort of build off what you're talking about, because I've heard you talk a lot over the years about the episodes in particular. Do you try and also make like a season long story? Like, do you feel you're crafting a
mm,
story of the season? And like, sort of hand in hand with that, like, do you like for your philosophy, do you think that's your role? Is to tell the final story of like, we've got this conclusion, let's tell a satisfying story there? Or do you just approach it as like these are things that happened, let me tell these things in an entertaining way? Like like how much do you feel you are involved in the narrative, I guess is what I'm asking.
Zach, that's a very thoughtful question. I love that. It's very sweet of you to
Because
ask.
you I've heard you talk both in during interviews and then just us about how much you could do. Like you
Yeah.
could make people look ridiculous if you wanted to. Like that's
Right.
the power of editing with these shows.
Yeah.
So I'm interested.
Yes, that is true. To anyone out there who's like, I'm gonna go on reality TV, like I, as an amateur video editor, with my friends helping me film this, it is so easy to get people to say anything you want them to say in the edited product. Like, and I even think of like, we don't even do a lot of we don't do any manipulation of like getting them to say certain things there. We could do more. We could do more of like, Zach, hypothetically, why would you vote out John Ton? Okay, and hypothetically, like, we don't do any of that. We just say, like, what are you actually thinking? And then I try to turn into like the most interesting version. Like, I think a lot about like, Tony's confessionals in season three are about how his number one ally is Melody. His number one ally is Melody. You'll never hear that in the show because I always replace Melody's name with Caroline because she's the one that stands up for him in the end. So like that's a better story than like, oh, Tony was working with Melody and she turned on him very early. I think it's more interesting to be like Tony like saw Caroline as his number one and she stood up for him till the very end till she couldn't anymore. Like that's a better story. So I try to, as best as possible, see it as a season long story. I think of for season three, I was like, the outcome is that the way I think of it is like, I think you have to think of like, what are some key moments? Like, I don't watch all of the footage before I start editing. I pick up on like, what are some key moments? I don't even ask players like, what were the important moments? Because everyone's got their own biased opinions. Like, again, and you don't know what actually made the final
Mhm.
cut. So I try to think through like, what can I tell her the key moments of a season? Like, what do I want to really resonate? And I think that you know, for season three, I think it would be like Kim Boot, Daltrey Boot, Lizzie Wynn. I think those are like the three that I'm like, okay, that's got to hit in a very specific way. And for Kim, it's like, okay, that means for the 3 episodes that Kim is there, she must look flawless. She must appear competent and dangerous every time she's on screen. So I will never include Kim stumbling over her words. I will never include her looking out of the loop on something. She must always seem in control and like a leader. Uh, and that's not hard to do because she is.
Yeah,
all of that's true. All of that's actually
yeah.
true. Uh, I think of like for the Daltrey boot, it's got to be okay. Every time so like one, it's like I need to show that like Caroline desperately wants to make a big move. She wants to have something and not like a resume thing, but like that will be fun for her to like take a big swing. I need like everything about Caroline is like I want to make a move, I want to make a move, I want to make a move. And everything about Daltrey is trust, trust, trust. I trust the people that I'm with. I'm with them till the end. I'll never betray anybody so that when someone betrays her and it's this person who's wanted to do something from the start, it's more satisfying. Or like Dan is a very savvy player, but I find Dan the most interesting as a character, like on the personality side and like the heart side. So like I told him this in his interview, like there was a like that sequence in episode three when like everybody's like, I couldn't believe a swap. Uh, the button of that is Melody being like, I knew there was a swap. Like, of course there was gonna be a swap. I was like, oh, that's funny because like Melody knows this game so well. Like, it's funny to like end on like, oh yeah, Melody of course saw it coming. Like Dylan
Mhm.
couldn't trick Melody. Uh, but Dan gave the same confessional of being like, oh yeah, like I knew there was gonna be a swap. He said something for like, what up, Dylan? Like, try me again next time. And I cut that not because it wasn't good or good TV, but I was like, but that's not consistent with Dan's character
Mhm.
on this. Like Dan's character is like he's heart. Uh, he stumbles sometimes. He's got to pick himself up. He's an underdog. So that that's a lot of what I think of when I think of like what are the season long narratives or like I know that Lizzie wins and that they go to the end with Sarah and that they both really like each other. So anytime that those two talk about each other or interact, I've got to include that because that's an important relationship to highlight. So yeah, I to the best of my ability, I try to think of it as like a season long story. I think this one in particular because I was trying to highlight this cannot be teal group, pink group. Like season two, I was like, okay, this is about the culture of each team. This is about purple culture versus orange culture. Um, this season's got to be 14 individuals and like their respective journeys. The only thing I have left on my list is like favorite moments from the first three seasons and like what do we think about season four? Is there anything else that you want to touch on before we get to either of those?
No, I think favorites is probably a good thing. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but no, unless there's no other specific questions. Yeah, get right to it.
Nothing on my
Yeah.
radar. So
Yeah,
let's
so
jump.
let's start. I wanted to ask this. So you said you think if the fav you're the you said you think the best episode from season one is the double boot with me and John Todd.
Yes, it
Okay, is
is.
that is also your favorite, I assume, from that season?
Favorite episode of all time or favorite of the
From
season?
that season, from season one.
Yes, that's my favorite episode of that season. Yeah.
Do you want to give a season two and season three favorite episode as
Oh,
well?
yeah, yeah, and yeah, I want you to do that too. I'd say favorite episode from season two, and again, I know season two is underrated. I think that season two, like, yeah, it had some low points for me of like, like things didn't go right, and I beat myself up about it. But like, season two had some great stuff in
Hmm.
it, like the merge with like the reveal of the Outcasts. I think of like first the double boot where they just like walk up at the end, and the Outcasts are there in their black bandanas, like looking all tough, like that's good. The Jason boot is like sad but really good. Um, I might say maybe the merge episode of season two is really fun because like Eric loses the idol and like you get like all the craziness from and like Gene is so funny. Gene,
Gene's so good in the merge episode of season two.
she's like, we don't have time for that.
Oh, it's so great. I love it so much. Yeah. So season one for me is probably the merge episode. Slight bias. I don't like to see myself flame out in season one.
Fair enough.
Um,
Fair enough.
but they're like they're really good like back to back
Yeah.
episodes. So it'd be the merge, and then also for season two, it's the merge episode. And then
I'm a
season three, I think we're both in agreement. For
Rubik's
this
Cube.
is the oh yeah, just the opening and whatever happens after. No, the whole episode three for season three, like just second to second. It's all entertaining. It's all just like everything you could ask for in a Survivor episode. It really is crazy how much greatness happened all in just one time span to make that perfect episode, I think.
I always loved that like so you and John Tom got like a preview of the season back in like I feel like I showed that to you guys in like December or November of 2024, like before anybody else could see it. Like there was no music, there's no B-roll, and I kept apologizing for that. You guys and I was like, I I want them to see the first three episodes because this is such a tight arc that leads to
Yeah.
this like incredible payoff. And then like that, and then we do like the watch party where we have the whole cast and crew come back together. Like that watch party, man, like that having like the first three episodes up on like a movie theater screen with like people like clapping and laughing and cheering. That was like a special night in my life. You know what I mean? Like that was so
Hmm.
freaking cool to get to share that with everybody.
Yeah. No, the watch party was so awesome. That and season three had other great episodes too. I mean, the Daltrey boot is just like such a great, intense, like Survivor game, just like story arc. Like you're on the edge of your seat. It pays off perfectly. I think my favorite moment of being in production is filming for that boot and having to stop my hands from shaking. Because even through your tears and your heartbreak, you have the producer and you goes, I gotta stack the votes a certain way. Just to really drive home the last nail that this is a crazy blindside.
I know, dude. It was so hard, and like I talk about in the Dolce boot, like that sucked. For weeks leading up to the game, I would like think about like, and what if she gets voted out, and you have to say, "Mom, the tribe has spoken." Like, and I would like tear up just thinking about it. And then like, were you, were you? I guess you weren't. You're because you're always filming the tribe, so you weren't like with us like in the voting area. Like,
Yeah.
it's like just me turning to the other crew members and be like, "Is this happening?" And like them being like.
Yeah, your mom's getting voted out, buddy.
The other episode I'll shout out from season three, and like this isn't a hot take. Like episode one was amazing.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
that was 44 minutes. That's the length of a real TV episode. I think that that hit every note of like a Survivor premiere. Like
Hmm.
a funny theme, like you meet all of the characters, you like that opening banter, like even just little things like you have to choose a captain and John turns around to like stare down Tony, be like, "Are you going to be the captain?" And then Emma, followed by Emma then looking at John like, "What are you doing?" Everything about that episode. The challenge is exciting. Brian finding the idol and getting caught.
Yeah, it's
You know,
so great.
everything about that episode is so good. Zach, we can end on this if there's nothing else on your radar. We got a couple of questions. Will, the props guy, props to Will, said season four when? Lizzie said, when's next season? So, Zach, with this, I'm excited to officially. How funny would that be if I did
I
all
was
this to
wondering if you could pull that on me, and I was like, "There's no way he'd actually do it. Like, it would be great. It'd be such a great delight for me. Like, I'd be like, oh yay, you know." But I hear you haven't done the forced, so I don't think it. I don't think season four is in the works yet.
No, there's nothing in the works for season four. To anybody who I have said season four is in the works, or like, oh, maybe I was being polite. Season four is I have nothing in mind. You gotta the thing I'll say again, I never do these out of like, well, we have to do another one.
Hmm.
Even Millennium Park 1 was out of like, well, I have a budget now and I'm like an adult and I know adult people like, oh, and what if we did 14 players? I've only ever done 12 or 10 players. Let's do 14 players. Season 2 was like the outcast, like I fell in love with Pearl Islands because I never watched it before because I'm a fake fan. And like I was like, we have to do an outcast twist. Like that's so good. That's so good. And then season 3 was returning players and swaps and twists. And I was like, so there could be a season 4 when we have an idea for it. I don't know that we'll do it at Millennium Park again. The park is just so big, and like people are always like disappointed when I tell them that. Like, yeah, we'd have to pick a new location. They're like,
No, Millennium Park.
I'm pull up the Millennium Park.
Up the hill. I want to walk up the
I
hill.
want to walk up the hill. I want to like earn it and walk up the
Yeah, you
hill.
can just go walk up the hill. You can just
Well, take
torture
a
yourself
walk up
that
the
way.
hill. So that's what I'll say is season 4 will happen when we have an idea for it. But who knows? Maybe I'll do my Halloween Survivor someday.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll convince you to do something. Let me ask this, Dylan. What do you like look back? Just, not a major question to throw at you right at the end here. What do you look back on Millennium Park as if this is the last season, and if 6 years from now you get another passion project, but it wants to be something different? What do you like look at the whole of these three seasons? Like, what is, dare I say, like the legacy of Millennium Park? If that makes sense. Like, what do you like want people to take away? Like, this is what Millennium Park is, and what's important for you to people take away from Millennium Park.
Did you write questions before this? All of your questions are smarter and more interesting than the questions that I spent an afternoon coming up with. Um, I I hope it's about community, and I hope that it's about the people that we brought together, and that like, regardless of whether you were the first boot or the winner, like whatever the place was, like it does not matter. And then I've had like other like players tell me like that's how they feel about it. It's like, no, like I want to be part of the group and I feel like I'm a part of the group. Like it doesn't matter how I did in the game. Like I'm a part of the group now. Like I'm thrilled to see people at watch parties. I did this coming out of the pandemic, which was definitely like a very, for everybody, a very isolating time. And uh I think I've talked about this before that like editing this can feel like a very parasocial experience. I'm pouring over hours of footage of 14 people and like getting to know them and like I'm learning about them, but they don't really like they don't see me during the weekend or like during the air. Like so it can feel very parasocial and very isolating to like then edit it for hundreds of hours. So I am over the moon with like the community that's been formed here and that like like people have become friends with each other and people keep in touch and that like some people have started dating because of this. Like that I got to take some credit for. That I got to take some credit for. So I don't know. I think a lot about like that I was like a dorky little middle schooler who like loved Survivor, but I was like, nobody watches this show. Like I'm so embarrassed to like it. Um, I have a mug that somebody gave me actually. I didn't even notice this tutorial. This is not done as like a bit. This just sits on my desk. This is from someone at work. It says, "Ask me about my Survivor obsession." I did. Wow, that's funny. That's been sitting there through all of these interviews, and I like did not even clock it. Um,
Wow.
so I'm just so thrilled to like have so many people in my life to like share this with. I think like people like you were like we did one show together. We did one community theater play together in 2019 and then stayed Facebook friends. And then we find out like you also love this thing. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy. And now we've organized four. No, well, I didn't organize Genius when I played it. So we've organized three games together. Like that's crazy. That's crazy that we do this. So I'd say it's I guess the communities I hope what people take away from it and that like I don't know there's freaks like you out there. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna end on that note of community. Do you have a thought on the legacy or like what you hope it leaves behind?
There's just a lot of things that I think Millennium Park does like that I'd love to see more in LRGs. Everyone who does a Survivor game wants to do the Survivor experience with it, where it's overnight and you're not gonna eat. And like, there was a place for those games, and I played in Surviving Maine. Shout out to that game; it was a great experience. But like, there is a really good like, I would love to see more short games or games where
Yeah.
you don't have to sleep over. I'd love to see more games that focus on trying to get people who aren't as big fan of Survivor into the game and see how super fans have to interact with them. Just like something I know we both care about. Like Survivor Millennium Park is like cheap to play. I think this season 3 is the only season you charge the players, or maybe season 2 as well.
Yeah,
But it was
season
like
it was
not much. Yeah.
$25 to play season two, $40 to play season
Yeah.
three, and that literally just covers like the lunch that I'm gonna buy for you and the crew.
Yeah, like cheaper LRGs is something I'd like to see more. So there's just a lot that Millennium Park does that I would love to see more from other games, and I hope people who do end up watching Millennium Park like see how those things like resonate well. And I just want to see more things like that from the LRG community. Yeah,
I I love that. To any people out there, they're like, maybe I'll host my own. Don't do overnight. Like, there's plenty of overnight games out there. There's plenty of week-long
plenty.
games. Like, make this an amazing weekend for you and your friends. Uh,
Hmm.
everyone who's posting about like we need more women to apply to our games. Guess what? Women are not going to go sleep in the woods with a bunch of strangers because it's not a safe experience.
Have
Like,
we really had problem? I don't know how season 2 was, but like season 3 we didn't have problem. Like there was women who applied like that didn't get cast. Like
we've never
we
had
had
an
plenty.
issue.
We
There's
could have
never been
cast the full 14-person season with women. So like, just do more stuff
season
like
four.
that.
Season
Yeah,
four, all women.
maybe. Oh,
Oops,
there's
oops,
the
all
idea. There's the
women.
spark of inspiration. Oh no. Oh no.
I'll be honest, I have thought about that, and then I'm like, well, then I need to bring in a co-host, because like, how cheesy would that be if like, and I'm the one man
And then
here,
Liz can host and
and
you
Liz,
can lose your mind on production
oh my
and
God, yeah,
and break your
really.
toe.
No, I'm so with you. I hope that, and I do feel like I feel like there's fewer of like the 2 day no overnight games. I just feel like there's more and more of these like larger scale, which is great. Like that's super cool. But I do hope that the community like continues these like smaller fun week because like that's when you
Mm,
get the people where it's like, well, I'm not gonna go sleep in the woods with strangers from the internet, but I
mm.
will play a game for like 2 days and go
Yeah.
sleep in my own bed and like try it. I'm with you on that. That's a
Hmm.
good thing to catch. Zach, anything else? This hour-long interview has now been an hour and a half, which like is actually pretty good for us,
Pretty
actually.
good for us. Pretty good. But let's say this is the last piece of Millennium Park content.
Yeah.
Here's what I want from you, Dylan. I want you to pick a clip from across the free seasons, and you're gonna put it in at the end here. What is the Millennium Park clip that you want to end Millennium Park on?
Zach, I'm glad you asked. And I mean, frankly, the only clip that I could think of that would perfectly summarize what Millennium Park was all about would of course be
I don't know. Might hit up a tree. Yeah, I cannot hurt this tree. Just kidding. Just like my boy Khabib Nurmagomedov, I go hard when it comes to combat.
Shin guards, boxing gloves, MMA gloves.
I will Superman punch the world. I think Dylan should just give me some credit.
Well, I was hitting up a tree. I'm happy with that.